Hello, Algebra 2. Today we are going to go way back in time and we are going to review adding and subtracting fractions. Actually, we're going to review that and we're going to review multiplying and dividing. We've got two sets of notes. Here's our multiplying and dividing. Two small parts of notes and then two assignments over fractions. We have to review this because we're coming close to a time where you're going to be adding, subtracting, multiplying, dividing fractions that you cannot type into your calculator. They're going to have A's and B's and X's and Y's. So we have to understand how to do this by hand without a calculator. Okay, so let's see. We're going to look at the first one. And by the way, the methods are written up here if you need to refer to either method of what we're doing today. I'm just going to talk through how to add fractions. So if we add anything in math, adding anything in math, or subtract, we need like terms. For example, if I were going to add together 3x squared plus 4x, I couldn't add those together because they're not like terms. So this would just be 3x squared plus 4x. If I were going to add together 3x plus 4x, I can add those together because they are like terms. They both have x's. So this is saying like we have 3 of these x's plus 4 more of the x's. And so a total we have 7 x's. See, I expanded it out and that's a lot of work. Where if you just know how to add like terms, you don't have to expand it like that. So when we talk about fractions, in order to add or subtract fractions, we need like terms. And to have like terms with fractions, means we have a common denominator. A common denominator, the same denominator. So I look at my denominator. Denominator is the bottom number. So I'm going to look at my bottom numbers here, and I've got an 8 and a 6, and those are not the same thing. Not like. So I start thinking about factors of 8. And 8 is the same thing as 4 times 2. 8 is also the same thing as 2 times 2 times 2. But think about factors of 6. 6 is 3 times 2. Now we're going to compare those factors. We're going to look at 8 and we're going to look at 6. And we're going to say they both have a 2. But what does 8 have but 6 doesn't have? Well, 6 doesn't have 3 2s. 6 doesn't have another 2 and a 2. And I'm going to look at 8 and I'm going to say, what does 6 have that 8 doesn't have? Well, 6 has a 3, but 8 doesn't have a 3. So I'm going to give 8 a 3. And we give those by multiplication. Now, what it would look like when you actually see me do it without all these little time symbols is I would have 1 over 8. And I'm going to multiply 1 over 8 by a value of 1, a value of 1 reduces to 1. So it looks like I'm going to multiply 8 by 3. So I can't just multiply the bottom by 3. I have to do the top and the bottom. This is a value of 1. So it reduces to 1. And we're going to do 5 over 6. And we're going to multiply by a value of 1, which gives us 2 2's. So 4. So I'm going to multiply by 4 over 4. That equals 1. So when I do that, and I multiply fractions, how do I multiply fractions? Oh gosh, that's our next lesson. Maybe we should have done it first. When we multiply fractions, we go straight across. See, there's a hole. I don't want to fall in the hole. So we're going to go straight across. Straight across. So multiply those fractions. I get 3 over 24 plus 20 over 24. So now we have 3 24ths plus 20 24ths, which gives us 3 plus 20 24ths, or 23 24ths. Now, I boxed it in, but we always want to check to see if we can reduce to lowest terms. And I think one of these, we're going to be able to do that too. But 23 is just 23 times 1. 24 does not have a 23 in it, so there's nothing that we could cancel out. This is our final answer. Okay, here is a subtraction question, but it could be an addition question. It doesn't really matter. We treat them exactly the same. So we need to find a common denominator. For these kind, I prefer to not leave them in mixed number form. So going way back in time here to change this into improper, oops, and change it into an improper fraction. You are going to multiply the denominator times the whole number. And you're going to take that and you're going to add on the number on top. And then we put that answer over the denominator. So 4 times 5 plus 3 over 4. And then this one here would be 10 times 1 plus 7 over 10. I'm going to go ahead and simplify that. And I'm going to get 23 fourths minus 17 tenths. Now we need to have a common denominator. So I think about, how do I make 4? Well, 4 is 2 times 2. How do I make 10? 10 is 2 times 5. I have to give 4 anything that 10 has, but 4 does not have. So when I look at 2 and 2, there isn't a 5. So I need to give it a 5. Over here, I look at 2 and 5. There is not 2 2's, so I need to give it a 2. So we have 2 2's. Now they have all the same numbers in the denominator. So what I'm really going to do is I'm going to take 23 over 4, and I'm going to multiply it by a value of 1. I'm going to multiply this one by 5 over 5. And I'm going to take 17 over 10, and we're going to multiply by, this one gets a 2 over 2. So I'm going to multiply straight across. Here's some, what's it called? Not using calculator math. I can't remember the term right now. 23 times 5 is the same thing as 5 times 20 plus 3. So 5 times 20 is 100, and 5 times 3 is 15. So 115 over 20, plus 17 times 2 is 34 over 20. So now we have a common denominator. Once we have the common denominator, we're going to add the numerators. We're going to take 115 twentieths plus 34 more twentieths, which gives me 115 plus 34 twentieths. Let's see. 115 plus 34. Remember I said we're not using a calculator? 149 over 20. And then as for reducing, this one does not reduce. So I'm just going to leave it like this. You can change it back. Back into mixed number form. But when we go to type this in Canvas, that's going to be harder to type into Canvas. So I'm going to suggest that we just leave it like this or reduce it if it can be reduced. I'm just going to double check to see if 149 over 20 can be reduced. No, that's as far as it goes. Okay. So that is adding and subtracting. So now we're going to do multiplying and dividing. So for multiplying and dividing in just real math, like, I don't know, if we did like 2x times 3y, it does not matter if we're multiplying not like terms. All you do is you multiply the things that you can together, the things that are like. So 6, and then you put the things that are not like just next to each other, x, y. Here I only have numbers, so this should be super easy. We're just going to multiply straight across. So what we do not need is we do not need a common denominator. 2 times 3 is 6, and 5 times 8 is 40. Now, what we need to do is we need to see if this is in simplest form or can it reduce? Can we reduce the fraction? So what I want to do is think about 6 and 40, and if there is a number that factors out of 6 and the same number factors out of 40. So 6 is 2 times 3 and 40 is 2 times 20. If they factor out, I can cancel them. Only if they factor out, only if they unmultiply from what's sitting there can I cancel them. And this what I'm doing right now is so important. Like, I know that you guys have done this before, but for when we start doing it with X's and Y's, understanding this step here is so important. You can only cancel if you can factor it out. You can only cancel after you factor out the number. So our final answer is going to be 3/20. So here's another multiplication. We're going to start with 5.5. So I'm going to change that by multiplying 2 times 5 plus 1 over 2. So I get 11 over 2 multiplied by 3/4. Multiplication, we go straight across. 33 over 8. And we think about the factors of 33, like 3 times 11. We think about the factors of 8, like 2 and 4, or 2, 2 and 2. And none of these factors are the same. So we can't factor out a number and cancel it. This would be our final answer. You could change it back into a mixed number form, but we're going to be typing these answers in Canvas, so please just leave it as improper. And then the last is a division. And we can't divide fractions. There you go. We can't do it. What we have to do is we have to remember this rule, and it's so important. I wonder if I've written down. Yep, here it is. To divide by a number. Sorry, to divide a number by a fraction. Multiply the number by the reciprocal of the fraction. To divide a number by the fraction, multiply the number by the reciprocal of the fraction. So we can't divide a fraction, but we can multiply by its reciprocal. So we take the first number, 3/7, we change division into multiplication, and we reciprocate which means to flip it over, flip those values. And now we have multiplication. We just went over how to multiply. We go straight across. 18 over 35. And then I look at my factors of 18, which are 6 and 3, or 2 and 9. I look at my factors of 35, which are 5 and 7, and none of those are the same. So this is reduced all the way. Okay, and then the last one, 8 divided by 2 and 1/3. I'm going to go ahead and change this by doing 3 times 2 plus 1 divided by 3. So I get 8 divided by 7/3. Sorry, I got distracted. My cat is on my desk while I'm doing this, and I'm trying to get her away. Okay, let's see. So we're going to have 8, and we're going to change this into multiplication, and then we have to reciprocate 7/3 to be 3/7. Now, 8 is not a fraction until you rewrite it as a fraction, which we just put it over 1, and then it becomes a fraction. Oh my gosh, stop, cat. Then we're going to multiply straight across. And I'm going to get 24 over 7. That does not reduce. So I'm going to go ahead and leave it like so. So that is a quick review. I definitely put more work on here than I would actually do on my own answer key, because I want to make sure that you guys really understand the math behind adding, subtracting, multiplying, dividing fractions, so that when we get to the harder stuff, you're going to be prepared. You have 2 worksheets. The first is adding and subtracting. And then the second is multiply, dividing. And then we have one more video today.